The minute you say sport, there's a lot of resistance from moms or dads that want to put their daughters into sport.
Hello and welcome to the show with me, Dashran Johan. Here's a good thing that you need to know. The Nicol David Organisation, founded by 8-time World Squash World Champion Dato' Nicol David and Mariana De Reyes, is dedicated to empowering young people through sports. The organisation focuses on nurturing talent and providing opportunities for underprivileged youth to reach their full potential. So on today's show, I'm joined by none other than Dato' Nicol David herself and Mariana De Reyes to talk about their organisation and sports as a tool for empowerment. Nicol, Mariana, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Nicol, let's start with you. I gave a little bit of an introduction on what the organisation is about, but I think it'll be really good to hear it from you. What is the Nicol David Organisation?
Well, the Nicol David Organisation is really an after-school program, and our objective is to empower girls and boys through sport and education. We give squash training and English classes to low-income children, and I feel that kids need to have some access to sport, and this is our way to reach out to more kids to play sport and also learn the values of what sport has to offer. I know for a fact that sport has changed my life, and I certainly hope that in this program we can change more lives for these kids. And the key thing is just to have them to have opportunities in future, and we added the English component because once you have English proficiency for your life, it will carry on in so many other pathways for them. So we currently have 110 children in the program, and that is just one part of the start of what's to come.
And what inspired y'all to start this organization? Who came up with the idea, and then where did it go from there?
So before I retired, I always had a dream of putting a foundation together, but I really didn't know how to start it. And my whole mission and vision was to give back, and to give back to Malaysia in some ways, because the country has given me so much to play squash for 20 years. And so all that experience, how do I translate it to another form? And the foundation was a perfect way to give back. And when I was training in Colombia for the last 2 years, I caught up with Mariana, a former squash player and Pan Am champion as well. And we've been friends for a long time, and we just touched base on just when I was about to retire, just sharing my story and what I want to do with setting up a foundation. She gave me so much insights on the key things to look out for, like being very structured and being in the business line or the corporate world for almost 11 years at the time. She knew exactly how to implement things from the ground up. So I just told her, you really have to come with me to start all this from scratch and come to Malaysia. That's all I can say, because I really need someone that has the knowledge and background for this, and I can bring my own input on my squash front, and also all the connections that I could offer in Malaysia. So that's how it all began, and the purpose is really to build a positive future for our children. And I know for all the things that I've done in squash, it has given me that positive encouragement that these kids are going to benefit so much from it.
Mariana, Nicol came to you with this big idea and said, come to Malaysia, let's do this. What went through your mind at the time? What attracted you to the idea? And also, when it comes to these types of organizations, right, y'all are usually trying to plug the gaps or solve a problem. Yeah. What were the gaps that y'all were trying to plug?
Well, for me, I think it was an easy decision, because I do feel that as a former athlete, you do want to give back in some capacity. So Nicol has very good convincing skills. You have to give her that. So I felt it was a good change of purpose for myself. I felt in the corporate world, although I was very fulfilled financially stable, the things that maybe in the nonprofit world sometimes are a bit more challenging, but I was missing a bit of heart to what I was doing. So it was a bit crazy because I am from Colombia and I moved literally all across the world to Malaysia, but there's so many similarities between Colombians and Malaysia, so I do feel at home and I do feel very welcome, so I'm very grateful. In terms of the problems that we're trying to solve, of course there's a massive gap in access. This is something that happens all around the world, from particularly low-income children. And talking about sport, especially a sport like squash is considered an elite sport, and it's of course not easy to play like football. You don't have a field, you don't have a squash court near your house, you have to buy a racket, you have to do all these things. So access was a barrier that we wanted to cut. So then the question was, how can we narrow that gap to enter and give them access to sport? So we were very fortunate that we found a facility that is located in Bukit Jalil. And what we did is that we catered to public schools around that facility. So that was from the principle. Our goal was public schools 100%. Right. So we go partner with the schools in Sri Petaling and Bukit Jalil, and we take the children from there. The school is aware that we are primarily focused on low-income children. So when we talk to the parents, because the children start their program when they're 8 years old, and we will take them for 5 years. And in that 5-year journey, they will have, like Nicol mentioned, squash and English tutoring and all these educational skills that will give them openings for better job opportunities in the future. So access to sport was huge. A lot of our children never knew what squash was. They didn't know what it meant to be in a squash court. So they have nurtured to be more confident because of that, because they realize that they can do it too. And I feel that that is the biggest thing you can give to a child, is the belief that they can do it as well. And the second issue that we had, of course, was after COVID-19, and this is a global issue, the education sector has been one of the most impacted, and especially children. The children that started our program in 2022, they had a kindergarten, I don't know how you call it in Malay, but it's a similar,
yes.
and first grade, what standard 1, they had it virtual. They didn't go to school. And when they started our program, 30% of our children couldn't read. And they were 8 years old. So that is already a massive issue for our country in a way. So we were like, okay, we thought they would be able to read at that time. We thought it wasn't going to be smooth. And then we realized, oh my God, the basics they can't do. So we had to go back and do a bit of remedial education, give them the skills to read, and then had to understand that we do still have a gap of 2 years in education. They are still a bit behind, but our goal is to shorten that gap and every time making it narrower so that they can eventually be at the level that they have to be. So those two things are the things that we're focusing on.
As Mariana said, y'all work with schools and y'all target, you try to mostly target underprivileged kids from the B40. Talk to me about a little bit more about that, the kind of programs that y'all have and how y'all target the students.
So we have our setup in Bukit Jalil. So the first thing we did was to just reach out to the schools that were willing to come on board to work up with our program. So we have to go through all the systems. We have to go have an approval from MOE, get through the approval from JPN KL, and till we can go into schools to present our program. And only then we can present our program to the parents of the standard 2 children. So they come in when they're standard 2.
Right.
So that's the entry point. And then they will be with us for 5 years. So we will tell them everything from the beginning to explain what we do. The program is set for 2 times a week. We have squash and English, and we will then ask the parents to decide if they want to put the kids into the program. There's no criteria. The only thing that we ask for is like their income bracket, so that we can also, they have to pay a small commitment fee, because if we give anything for free, nothing will be taken seriously. So they will just sort of put it aside. Oh, it's a free program. We won't send our kids. But that little commitment makes such a big difference. And so we go from the income bracket from the lowest tier to mid-range, the M40s. So we cater to all levels, but predominantly we have 70% of our kids are from the B40 section, and then it's just a staggered fee. And it goes from 40 ringgit a month to like 250 ringgit for the highest tier. And I think that's reasonable because everything is subsidized. We offer equipment, we have we provide transport to and from school to the foundation, and also we have a little snack because after they play squash they need to eat something, so we'll have a little snack after, and that's really what we are catering to. So that's why we are very clear that we don't want any criteria, because kids, we know if you can give them the exposure, then they will try it out. So the minute you say sport, there's a lot of resistance from moms or dads that want to put their daughters into sport. So that made a big difference in our ratio of having 50-50 girls and boys in our program, which we are very proud about. Now it's coming to more girls than boys, but it's really like a 2% difference.
Right.
So we've seen like how having women role models have made also a big difference in having the credibility and the safety that they feel for their children too.
I know both of y'all are big believers that sports can empower people, especially younger people. Nicol, why do you think so? Because even earlier you said sports changed your life. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, in the very start, when I started playing sport, I was exposed to sport because my dad was a former goalkeeper for Malaysia, and he was very active in sport, and he knew exactly the minute he got exposed to sport that also made the difference in how he treated his studying life or being a student, and having the discipline, having the focus, and also time management, and the confidence of knowing that you have an identity to follow. And when my dad and my mom, my mom was a former English teacher, so that's why hence the program also has English component, and I think that was the perfect combination, I felt. And my sisters and I, since as a young kid, we always had things in the house, whether it's like, different rackets, hockey sticks, and we're just playing constantly in the house. So it's a sports house that really gave so much life, and it was just the way of living, and it gave me a sense of purpose and also an identity when I was growing up. I know very clearly that I can just remember all those moments of traveling with my sisters, playing sport together, enjoying it with my friends, making new friends from different countries, and getting to travel the world, experiencing different cultures. That's what we want to see. From just a small access to a public squash center that was in Penang, I wouldn't have had access if it wasn't for that one public squash center that was built. And once you give access to children, they can see how much power that sport can give. Is also, I'm a better student because I was more disciplined, I could time manage better, and my focus levels just increase so much more because I could focus in my sport and I could just translate it into my studies, and I do that for the rest of my life, and that's what I feel kids need to have more sport in their life, because it really builds character, builds confidence. And we see the kids now, after the start of the first day till now, the confidence level have just gone up tenfold, I feel.
I always wanted to ask you, because people, when it comes to sports, they always tend to focus on the talent, which you are incredibly talented. You are one of the most gifted squash players of all time. But how important were things like, the initiatives, when you were growing up, the ecosystem, whether it's training, whether it's the support system, how important are these things to make you the athlete that you ended up becoming?
It was everything. It was the most important thing was the positive environment that was around me. My parents created that from the get-go, and also the squash community, where my coach, Miss E. Poi Hun, she was the one and the pioneer of the Penang State Squash setup, where she created a family feel, and we were all encouraged to play. We were all given the extra positive encouragement. There was no negativity, but she was always emphasizing on our studies, so those things were not neglected. I think it's crucial to have a great support network, and I was very grateful that I had funding from the government all throughout my journey from when I was a junior up till I retired and up to now, seeing how much I can contribute to the country. It really helps to have that support system, and I felt that I could fly. I could do whatever I wanted to do in my squash and now so in my foundation. And now with Mariana and myself, having that support team in the foundation really makes the difference, that we are on the same wavelength. We are going towards the same goals and dreams, and it's for the kids now, and it's for another group of community that we want to build too.
Mariana, people sometimes when they look at you and they always think of the business aspect, which you, of course is crucial as well. But like you said, you yourself are a former athlete. You played squash as well. How important is talent development, cultivating talent, particularly at a very young age?
I think more than developing talent is about giving access to people to play. Sometimes I feel we have this mentality that sports is just for elite, sports is just for medals,
right.
It's for competitions, but we forget that sports is just a means of being happy. It's about being healthy, it's about making friends. So we are very anti-talent mindset in that way. Oh. We really believe that if the kids don't become champions, we are super happy because they are doing the best version of themselves, and we are thinking of giving that environment. So when they come to our training, it's high fives all the time, is that you're doing amazing, it's positive words. It's not like, why didn't you play good? Why didn't you serve properly? That sort of negative speech to kids can be really breaking. So we do believe that words are powerful, but are also actions. And we really don't care, and we really say it honestly. People ask us like, do you want the next Tattoo Nicol David? And we go, no.
Very true.
Why do we have to make it so like that? You know, just let them be happy children. They can be maybe a PM of this country. Like, why do they have to be? Why do they have to be Tattoo Nicol? Or maybe they're going to be a scientist, or maybe they're going to be a doctor. Whatever it is, the values they will learn from playing, from learning to be resilient. It's so frustrating to do a sport. You know why? Because you have to try so hard, and you have to always make a mistake, and then you have to go back, and you have to do it again, and then you have to fine tune, and then you have to work with your frustration, and you have to keep going. But that is exactly the mindset that will get you to be someone in life. Right. So we believe in that, and if some kids become amazing in sports, the happiest. So right now we have 20% of our children are very talented for sports, that can have a potential in elite training. We are offering them the Nicol David Academy as a pilot, but only for our Little Legends. That's the name of our program, Little Legends. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. But the other 80%, they're still amazing squash players.
Right.
They're still amazing kids, but maybe their love for the sport is not the competition. It's my friends. It's being healthy. It's proving myself I'm getting better. So everyone has a different motivation.
So it's holistic development.
Yes, 100%.
And on that note, right, both of you all always stress the importance of young girls. Like Nicol, you brought it up earlier. Mariana, I want to get your thoughts. Why do you think participation among young women, young girls in sports is not as high as we'd like it to be, right? The levels. I'm really happy to hear that, at the Nicol David Organisation, y'all have already cultivated that sort of space. A lot of young girls are there now. It's 50-50, slightly more than 50% of are young girls. But overall, what do you think, what are the barriers that prevent the participation of young girls in sports?
That's a great question. So there is a big bias that has been for many years that women, if they go into sport, it can be seen as masculine. So there is like these cultural barriers as well, or also because mothers, when they were growing up, they weren't allowed to do sports. So moms of today go to see sports, and it's like, it's only for the boys because boys do football or boys do that. But I've realized that it's not that desire to not get them involved, it's because they couldn't experience it themselves. So I have beautiful stories of moms that have told me, I signed up my daughter because I was not allowed to do sports.
Right.
And that's their driver. So women, we are changing in that mindset that sport is not just for men. You can see it today in the growth of women's sports around the world, in football, in rugby, in squash. Like today, the biggest faces in sport are women. Simone Biles, Dr. Nicol David. I can give you millions of women examples of leaders that are now showing a different face to break those barriers of, oh, you imagined an athlete like this, but actually no. A women athlete looks like this. So that change in mindset is growing a lot in Malaysia and around the world. It's not just Malaysia. Believe me, Malaysia is doing great. We still need to encourage more sports for women, but change different sports. So maybe they don't like contact sports. Maybe they can do other type of sport, like racket sports are fun, team sports, like netball is huge here. So let's just give them exposure. And girls eventually feel they don't have a place there because girls are very compared as well. And that's another problem. So it's like, oh, you're not as fast as a boy. Oh, you're not as sporty as a boy. But you're like, yeah, because maybe girls are taking in to do house chores more than sports stuff. So we're really trying to raise awareness and education on how everyone benefits from sport. And I think that's changing, but we need more advocacy with girls in sports for sure.
Mariana, y'all mainly work with young children, but something very interesting I came across recently is this Ibu Legends program where y'all are trying to empower mothers as well. Tell me about this program and why do y'all think it's also important to empower mothers and not just young children?
It's been a great journey because the last 2 years we did focus primarily only on children. But I think, of course, that we are women too, and we see the struggles, right? And Absolutely. We would see all the mothers come to pick up the children, and they're so devoted, and they don't miss class, and they're so supportive. And we were just thinking, like, what can we do to help moms? Because mothers are for us a very unlooked demographic. Like moms, they are superheroes. They do everything for us. They're there for us. And sometimes they don't have anyone to look out for them. So we started to think, what can we give to our mothers of our community and venture into the women's space, which we already are in the children's space, but we wanted to venture. And what we came up with Ibu Legends. So Ibu Legends is a 24-month program, and they will have a journey with us to first tackle medical concerns. So we give 100% medical checkups to mothers, and it's extensive. They go from like scans to tumor markers to blood tests to bone density, things that I didn't even know existed. They had a test for, and the statistics were shocking because in only a small cohort of 30 moms, the doctors told us that 80% of our mothers were dehydrated, 60% of our mothers had malnutrition, we had UTI infections, we had high tumor markers for almost 30% of them. So it's a young 32 to 48 years old population. We are in that bracket, to be transparent. So we are in that bracket, and they had all these health concerns. So we were just like, wow, if this only is with our 30 pilot cohort, like how can it be when you put it out to the Malaysian population of women? So we said, no, we have to do something. So we are giving them mental health workshops. And then we also enhance that with nutritional support, with physical education, of course, because we need active moms. And now after their self-intervention, we call it like, first we look inside to then add on more things. They're going to start financial education, entrepreneurship education, and the last stage is we want these moms to then become ambassadors to other moms and hopefully replicate, and they can grow the community of support. And hopefully we're not going to have 30 moms. Maybe one day we have 4,000 moms that are doing this model around Malaysia and sharing the knowledge, because moms need so much community. They're so alone. I didn't realize how alone they were until I had really time to talk with them. And I think it also gave me a perception of my own mother and really an appreciation to go like, wow, you know, our mothers really go to through much. And I now have to be 38-year-old to know. But when I was in my 8, 10, 20s, I really didn't see it. Now that I'm closer to the 40, I'm going like, wow, you know, like our mothers are really one of a kind. So
Absolutely.
we really have to make sure that they are looked after, because if a mother is healthy, a child is healthy and a family is healthy.
Dato' Nicol, you are the most decorated Malaysian athlete of all time. You are the GOAT of squash as far as Malaysians are concerned. But even at an international level, I think most people see you as the GOAT of squash. What advice or what would you tell young people who say, I want to be Nicol David one day?
They absolutely can, in whatever they want to do. No one can be me, because there's only one me. But they can aspire to be their best version of themselves, and they have dreams are made to happen. And my dreams came true. We have so much potential. Malaysia, our nation, are just full of great talents, great kids that just want to aspire to be great people. So just go for it, work hard. It's always a process. There's no shortcuts to getting what you want to be or where you want to go to. You need to do the hard work and just be dedicated. And if you can do that and you can follow your own path, you'll strive for whatever you want to dream for.
So we always like to end this show with a song suggestion from our guests. Would one of y'all have a song suggestion for us, and why y'all chose that song?
I love this girl called Chapel Roan. I don't know if you've heard of her. I think she's awesome. She's unique. She's different. She's talented, and I just like a good song from her that I know for some reason I forgot already, because you put me on the spot. I think it's Good Luck Babe. Good Luck Babe. You got me nervous and I forgot the name of the song.
So now the mystique of you coming up with it on the spot is gone.
Yes, like I was not prepared for that question. It's a good song. Check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicol, Mariana, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Dasha.
having us.
I've been speaking to 8-time squash world champion Dato' Nicol David and Mariana De Reyes, co-founders of the Nicol David Foundation. And this is Good Luck Babe by Chapel Roan, BFM 89.9.